Before a negative emotion is felt or spoken, or before negative action is taken, the negative thought occurs. The story we tell ourselves originates from this negative thought. So how do we nip this in the bud? What action can we take to intercept or reframe the negative thought or story and focus our attention on more positive and productive thoughts? Our guest will show you how to rein in your beautiful brain so it works for you, not against you. Hello, everyone. I'm Ande Lyons, startup founder, coach, host of the Startup Life Show, and podcast host and co-host of a wonderful, popular startup pitch event right here in beautiful Boston, USA called Founders Live Boston. And welcome to the show. I am so grateful, and frankly, I am delighted to see that you have carved out time for you and your business. You're leveling up your founder game by tuning into this live tonight or later. So I'm so happy that you're here. And yes, we are streaming live right now on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Thanks to this oh so delicious StreamYard platform. I love this platform for live streaming. Those of you tuning in live, please introduce yourselves in the comment thread. Let folks know where you're hailing from and share your business name and website with each other. And please use this opportunity to expand your network. I mean, this is like a networking event, okay? Connect with each other on LinkedIn and follow each other on social media. You never know where the next collaboration will come from. And your questions and comments are important. So please pop them into the comment threads during our conversation, and we'll do our best to answer them live. And hey, if you know someone who would benefit from our fierce and fearless conversation tonight, please share this live stream on your social media feed so other folks can join in. Because the theme for the Startup Life Show is a problem shared is a problem halved. And our phenomenal guest, you'll see her right there, Rebecca Heiss, will show us how to reframe the negative stories we tell ourselves. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to introduce you to this amazing woman. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so honored to be here with you and joining your fabulous audience.
Well, I am so grateful to have you here, Rebecca. How did we meet each other? Was it on, you reached out to me on LinkedIn, I think.
Yeah, I'm always looking to connect with more, empowered women, and your name was sitting right there. Oh, I need to know this woman.
I was so thrilled you reached out when I dug in, because folks, I vet everyone I connect with on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, everybody. I take a look at their background and say, okay, yeah, I'm ready. I'd love to get to know this person.
I'm glad I snuck in there. That's
No, it's important. So before we dive into reframing our stories and reining in our beautiful brains, please share with everybody your startup story. How did you, I'm always saying, how did you get off payroll? How did you find, and fall into the entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, I think fall into is the appropriate terminology there. I would love to say, I knew right from the beginning. And the reality is, if I listened to myself, especially my younger self, I would have known from the very beginning this was the path that I always needed to take. But I think it's one of my earliest memories, honestly. I was 7. And my mom was incredible about taking us to the library. And I would get out the same book every single time. My sister is, getting out these classic novels and stuff. And I'm like, there's a book called Better Than a Lemonade Stand. I don't even know if it exists anymore. But it was all these ideas, these startups of the businesses that you could run.
When you were 7?
When I was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, the whole way through, I kept getting this book out, and bless her heart, very southern thing to say, my mother baked more cookies, helped me with more of these random little startup things that I decided I had to do. I had to do it. And if I'd listened to that voice, I would have known this was my path the whole time, right? But instead, I let these little voices, these fears seep in, and immediately was like, okay, I can't do this. I have to be locked into that pattern of safety. I need something safe. And one of the things that I realized is every job that I took, I kept running into the same thing. I was like, okay, wait, people aren't self-aware. And suddenly it occurred to me, like, wait a second, if they're not self-aware, uh-oh. And this is a problem. And the reality of the journey is, it started as a napkin drawing, as so many of these things do. And it literally was a napkin drawing. I sketched it out while I was at work, thinking, man, if only people could be a little more aware. I'm so blessed in my life to have great friends and family who will tell me to my face, that's not good of you. And not good of you, but that hurts me, or what you said, that's painful for me. I mean, even
those are good people in your life to have.
Oh my gosh, it's a game changer. Last week, because I am by no means the picture of self-awareness. Last week, I had a fearless conversation with my father. I'd said something, it had come out to me hilariously, for him painfully. And being willing to engage and having that loving conversation, that honest conversation, is what has allowed me to do what I do now, because I've had these people in my life and I realize how important it is to gain that self-awareness. So that's the short version of a much longer story.
But you came up, so you were, because look, you've got what, 12 years of education behind you, somewhat, 4, 8, 2 or 3, so 10, 11.
That's kind of you. I actually did my education pretty quickly.
Okay.
So I went through school. Let's see, I did a master's degree in 2 years, and then I did my PhD in 3. Yep. So it was pretty quick, but
9 years still. But along the way, you were diving into different avenues that kept feeding you and preparing you for the day that you were going to launch IQity. So share with everybody, because you're not a tech founder, are you?
Well, I'm kind of.
You're a tech founder now, but had you dabbled in tech?
No. My back, again, and I say this truthfully, like I am such a safety person. It is, I think women from a very young age are taught, don't take risks, don't do that. And IQity started as this tiny idea of how to help empower people to be themselves, but their best versions of themselves. They're really knowing themselves, knowing their strengths, knowing their weaknesses, their opportunities for improvement, and being able to present who they think they are to the world in a way where the responses that they're getting from other people that are seeing them are the same as who they think they are. And the idea, there's this great book. It's written by Kobe, and I hope I say this right, Yamada maybe, called What Do You Do With an Idea? It's a children's book. It takes maybe 2 minutes to read, and my dad gave it to me right as I was having this idea with IQity. And it starts off with this like little tiny idea, and it grows and it follows you, and it just grows and it sticks with you, and you're scared of it because you don't want to tell people about it, and and what are they going to say, and people will hate it, and finally you do, and they do hate it, and it's still valuable. That's when I knew. I was like, okay, now I have to do something with this. And it became that thing that kept following me anywhere I tried to run in safety. Like, I'll just take this job. I'll just take one more job. It was just right here saying, no, you have to take that leap. So
it's an app?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got sidetracked there.
How does this product work?
IQity is an app. It's a mobile application, and it's basically a continuous 360 review. So if you've ever had a 360 review where other people rank you, rate you, tell you who they see you as, that's what this is. You can rank yourself on various traits, on various performances, on skill sets, and say, oh, I think I'm like a 1 on empathy. But I'm probably a 10 on humor, and then you send that to friends, family members, colleagues, whoever.
Not your Twitter feed people, okay?
You get feedback from people who truly know you, who interact with you, and they rate you on those same traits anonymously over the course of 21 days. So this gets dripped out to those people, so you never know on any given day. It's not like I'm angry at that person today, so I'm going to rate them this. And what it does is it allows ourselves to see ourselves as the world sees us. and truly to grow in our strengths, because that is who we are.
I love that. Yeah, I'm taking a course right now, and we have a lot of exercises. And the exercise that I had to do this last week really had me on one hand saying hashtag why bother, and on the other hand hashtag I'm a friggin' superstar. It was, but when I was down in the oh why bother, it was because I was comparing and despairing. Especially as a startup founder coach. I mean, I can compare myself to the Stanford MBA cashed out, 500 startups, Y Combinator, IPO type of founders who are now coaching. That's crazy. I took myself to my client testimonials to remind myself again, because, that's unbiased kind of, feedback in the sense that they said, hey, you delivered this to me and this is what happened as a result.
It truly is. And we get so bogged down in the titles or in that person has this and this and that. And we stop paying attention to what people are actually saying about us. I mean, and it's hard because you do think that they're being biased. When it's good, you think they're being biased. And when it's bad, you get defensive and you're like, And so either way, I realized at one point I created a product that nobody wants, right? I don't really want that. Like, it's scary. To see that about yourself. It can be a little terrifying.
And is this something that could eventually be used in HR?
I hope that it is, because to me,
healthy HR, I want to.
Right. To me, that's the number one quality of a leader. Like, I can give you any number of traits that are helping empathy and charisma and all of these things, and I can name a leader that doesn't have one of those things.
Yeah.
The one thing I found that I think is true is every great leader is self-aware, right? Every great leader. So why would we only empower one or two people on a leadership team? Let's empower the entire team to be self-aware, to operate from their true strengths. And I'm excited about that.
And they can do it from a handheld.
There it is.
There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, guys, I have to tell you a little something that I found out about Rebecca that and I asked her tonight, I said, can I just use hashtag smarty pants? She taught at South Carolina Governor's School for Science and Mathematics, and later was recruited to be among the founding faculty members to develop a startup school to nurture entrepreneurial minds and approach learning through impact.
Thank you. And it's the stories we tell, right? Hashtag smarty pants. But I look at that and I'm like, and I'm not you. I'm not doing all the things that you're doing. This comparison is so dangerous, and we all do it.
It's intoxicating.
It is. And we have more of it than ever before because of social media.
It's so hard. Let's say hi to a few folks tonight. You say hi to April. Hi, April. April is just one of these folks who's on social media, who understands live streaming, helps people everywhere she glows, brings really great questions and her own lived experiences to online events everywhere. I really appreciate her. And then Elaine Santon, I met at a Tony Robbins Business Mastery in Las Vegas. We had the best time. She was my buddy, sat beside her, fellow Leo goddess, a nurse, and a founder herself, exploring different ways to do more in the world. So good to see you, Elaine. And then my delicious, hold on, let me just bring this one up, Natalia, who is my marketing coordinator. She's doing all sorts of wonderful things. She's a student at Hult International School in Boston. I'm so thrilled to have her on the Startup Life team. So let's get into a little bit more about your background before we dive into, again, getting a hold of our brains and having them work for us, not against us. You and your partner co-founded a remarkable entity, a nonprofit entity, when COVID-19 and the pandemic hit. I really want you to share with everybody about this. And I wanted to get this in early on so we can get folks to go check it out.
Andy, thank you so much for the opportunity to plug this, because it is near and dear to our hearts. My partner and I were, watching as we all are, feeling fairly helpless about these death toll numbers that continue to climb and climb and climb. And we thought, there has to be something we can do. And the only thing that we could think of to do is to memorialize and make sure that we weren't losing the stories of these people, because they were all more than a number. And so we founded the memorial site, Mourning America. That's mourning with the U, mourningamerica.org. And it's a nonprofit. We're completely free, not looking for any kind of donations. But it's a space where the families of these victims can come and tell their story in their own words, can create their own community of people to mourn together. Because in a time when we're probably more isolated than we've ever been, and losing a family member, losing somebody that you love is always hard. But losing them in a time when you can't be together to mourn, I can't.
Not being able to mourn is just so important. I get stuck on my words, everybody, because I get so blown away by this. But to not be able to hold their hands while they transition, it's like, ay. And go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. It's been painful, honestly. It's been painful and great beauty to the pain, because you see these families coming and telling these stories about losing their loved one and not being in contact for months. And it hits home. It really does.
But also, folks, this is what I found so remarkable. And that is the fact that a lot of people can't even forget not being able to afford to have a funeral, but they can't afford to have an obituary. I didn't know obituaries were so expensive.
Yeah, we kind of got caught off guard with that as well. Unfortunately, I lost my grandfather a couple weeks ago. And it's okay. It's part of the life cycle. But it's painful. And on top of that pain, so many people are in a financial crisis right now already, because the economy is suffering and they may be out of work. And then on top of that, to have funeral expenses. And then on top of that, we were looking and we're like, oh my gosh, $1,000 to have an obituary written. And we're going, wait a second, what are people doing that don't have that privilege?
Right.
And that's really where we said, wait a second, that should not determine whether or not somebody is mourned, somebody is remembered, somebody is memorialized. And so that triggered this Mourning America.org.
Exactly. Well, I put the links, everybody, into the live chat and on all the platforms that we're on, but I'll also be sure to have all the links in our show notes. Be sure to check out Mourning America. It's very, very powerful, and it's a great opportunity for us to remember those and memorialize those, so that we don't just go, oh yeah, 100K died in 2020. No. People that were loved and beloved passed. So thank you to you and your partner for creating that wonderful, founders, isn't this what we do? We've got one business happening here, maybe another stream over here, and then boom, another idea will come. And it's just so important. As I always say, there's a cat yowling at the door to come in. It happens and we've got to do it. I'm going to say hello to a favorite, Eric Cox. He helps people, Rebecca, get media prepared. So command your moment. Have those right words ready when the camera's on you, so you don't freeze and go,
oh, I need him in my life. That's a reality. So many times you sit there going, what's that word? That thing?
Yeah.
Eric.
What was I going to say? What was that soundbite I wanted to give the press? Eric helps people do that. Thanks for your great comment, Eric. That's awesome. And so let's get into how we can rein in our beautiful brain, because most of us know we have the imposter syndrome, of course. Who do you think you are? Someone told us that, or even if nobody told us that, everybody said, oh, you're amazing. We can easily fall into imposter syndrome. Who do we think we are? And again, as we mentioned earlier, because we look around us and see everybody seems to be doing it better than us. And we never remember, sure, it's been done before, but not by you and not for us. So where do we begin when those negative thoughts start creeping in, as they do? And sometimes, folks, it's like 1 minute you're feeling okay, and the next minute it's hashtag why bother. And what's some of the ways that we can shift and also share that, what you know about our brain, that 200,000 year history, so that we not only sit there and go, oh yeah, we've got to have these steps to rein in our beautiful brains. No, there's a reason why our lizard brains are behaving this way.
Yeah, and you hit on it right there, right? Our brains aren't built for this world. They're built for a world where we lived with our ancestors about 200,000 years ago. And it's only in the last 200 that we've had this massive shift in culture and technology. And we're living with now 8 billion connected individuals, which our brains just aren't built for. And so we have all these stories, all of these fears that kept us alive. Like, don't get kicked out of the tribe. Like that was a rejection is huge because there's such a fear there. If I get kicked out of the tribe, I die. Well, not anymore, not in this modern world. And so we have to be aware of the stories that once kept us alive that today are preventing us from fully living, and sort of reverse those. So there's really 5 steps that I want to go through, and I'm going to go through them very quickly. And then if you're okay with it, dive into each of them.
Love it.
So the first one is recognition, right? Recognizing that your brain is both highly trainable and highly powerful. Big step. The second is to listen to the stories that you're already telling. Like, what is actually happening here? The third is to disrupt those patterns, to say, okay, yes, we've done it that way for 200,000 years, but that's not how I want to operate anymore, right? Fourth step is to sit in that discomfort, because anytime you try something new like that, like, I don't know, try brushing your teeth with your left hand or your right hand, if you're, whatever your non-dominant hand is, it's awkward and weird and it's uncomfortable. And we actually have to train our brains to sit in that, to feel it, just like you train your body for a marathon. And then finally, you have to make a common enemy of these stories that you're telling about yourself. So this is the most powerful piece. So let me start, if you're okay, let me start with number 1, right? Recognizing that your brain is trainable and powerful. So the trainable piece is fun because I want you all to think about the first time you drove a car, all right? And you're looking at like 10 and 2 and speedometer and people, and it's scary, right? And today, lean back, you might be distracted driving because you've trained your subconscious to drive for you. That's brilliant. That's great. It means that these stories back here are fully accessible. And we have the power to change the stories that we've been telling because we can train that subconscious. The second piece is that your brain is insanely powerful. People always dismiss like the placebo effect.
Mm-hmm.
Placebo effect. Yeah. And that placebo effect actually has, and I use the word manifest because it does. It manifests changes in your body, in your brain, and in the behavior and the relationships that you have with others. So this is hands down my favorite scientific study, if you'll indulge me for a second.
Indulging.
Two groups of housekeepers, right? Identical. They do the exact same things. Only one group is told nothing, and the other group is told, hey, you're meeting the Surgeon General's requirement for exercise. That's it. It's the only difference. Is one is told that they're exercising, and the other isn't told anything. And after 4 weeks' time, they have a lower body fat, lower waist to hip ratio, lower body mass index, lower blood pressure, just because they were told that they were meeting the Surgeon General's requirement for exercise. I read that study and I was like, you are an all-powerful athlete. You have to start changing these stories because the stories that you're telling are so negative. And if they're that negative, if on this side, that little positive story about me exercising changes this much, what is the negative side doing? What does that look like? Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, no, seriously, let's just sit there. You can fill in the blank, everybody who's watching, right? Come on, there's so many.
That's actually step 2, right? Listen to those stories. Sit for a second quietly by yourself and just say, oh. And 70% of the time, these little stories inside of our heads are negative. Because again, that negative story kept us alive for 200,000 years. It's like, I'm not going to pay attention to this positive, beautiful day and I'm eating these berries when there's a rustling over here that could be a tiger. You gotta pay attention to the tiger. But today, there's no tigers. There's not. There's things that are dangerous. There's things that are scary still, but by and large, they're not going to kill you. But your brain doesn't know that. So your brain has this massive stress response because of a story that's completely irrelevant to the modern times. All right, so we've got to disrupt that. That's step 3. That's step 3 is disrupting those stories. So like interrupting your thoughts and saying, wait a second. So I cheat. I use alarm clocks because I can't do it otherwise. I use the same technology. If you guys, do you set an alarm, Ande, in the morning to wake up?
Yep, with ALXEA.
Yeah. And you start to wake up a few minutes before that alarm clock goes off?
Mm-hmm.
It's because you've trained your brain, right, to become conscious at a particular time.
Right.
So we're going to do that throughout the day. So I set 5 alarms, go off throughout my day. When the alarm goes off, check in with myself. What story am I telling right now? Is it a rejection story? Is it an impostor syndrome story? Is it a failure story? What are those stories? Are they helping me? Are they hurting me? And then instead of saying, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? Because that's always where we go, right? Like, what's the worst case scenario? And I can say, like, I'll go to the store and I'm like, if I don't get that grape jelly rather than the strawberry jelly, I can take that all the way to I end up dead in a ditch. Like, it's easy to take that, it's easy to take the negative thing. But like, what's the best case scenario? That's what we don't do naturally. And we can retrain our brains to say, wait a second.
Okay, so parents, like when your kids are late coming home, right?
Yeah.
Teenagers. I mean, you can get to the point where you're donating their clothes to the Salvation Army. It was so bad, that story.
Yes. Yes. And the alternative is they stop to help somebody along the way. And, and
a kid off who probably had too much to drink or whatever, it didn't want to drive,
Yeah.
Or they're teenagers and they spaced out the time, but they're coming home alive just fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, what happens is our brain spends so much time and energy on that anxiety and worry that it is painful and it changes our stories, not in a positive way, where we could be spending that time and energy shifting it and saying, wait a second, I can tell this in a positive light too. And that's just as likely as this.
Right. So because, founders, we are really stuck with this a lot because we are faced with a ton of no evidence, 0 evidence that our idea will ever work, or perhaps we have done the customer survey, we've got our MVP and people are like, yeah, oh, yep, absolutely. I'll do this, I'll do that. And you're like, yay. And then you launch and it's crickets. And you're like, what happened to all those customers that said they were going to do something? So it's, and you don't want to be, of course, off in some la-la land, but you really want to disrupt negative thoughts that are going to undermine your ability to actually be productive, to get things done and step back and be curious to solve solutions. How can founders do that?
It's a great question. And I swear we didn't practice this, but that's step 4. So thank you, Ande. You could not have led that any better. This is literally the training. So if you're an athlete or if you've ever done any kind of athletic thing, you train your body, right? You don't show up for a marathon without any training. It's a terrible idea. Right. And yet we're putting our brains in these situations day in and day out as founders, right? As startups going, we're going to get rejected. We're going to fail. We're putting ourselves in these situations. We're literally putting our brains on the marathon line without ever training them. So we have to train our brains to be comfortable with the discomfort and the severity of the story that's going to come when we think, or when we have failed, when we have been rejected. So how do we do that? Well, this is my favorite part. We have to do some what I call discomfort challenges. So, for example, right now, Ande, will you participate with me?
Oh, yes, I will. I'm right here. I'm ready.
So, and I hope all of your audience is watching this. Right now, I love that you're just so in and ready to go all in. We're just going to do like 10 seconds of a dance off. All right. There's no music, which makes it super more uncomfortable, but we're going to jam out. Now, immediately, if you're anything like me, my brain starts going, you can't dance and they're going to reject you. And oh my gosh, what are they going to say? Right?
Whatever you do, don't sing.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Whatever you do, don't sing. Because you're terrible at singing. Well, let's go there. Ande, let's say you sang, I challenge you to sing and you did it. And you were terrible. What does your audience think about you?
Well, they'll have a good laugh.
Yeah, they'll have a good laugh. And they'll say, bravo, she was brave. You know, did it. She was terrible, but she did it. And if you're good, they're again going, wow. So what stops us? It's always these irrelevant fears. So when we seek discomfort, when we go into a Starbucks and we say, hey, can I get 5% off? And we have this massive stress response, right? Because our body doesn't know that it's not a tiger. It's just a potential rejection or a no. And we have this massive stress response. And the person says, nope. And you pay your $10.99 or whatever it is you pay for coffee and you walk out the door and nothing bad happens. Your brain says, oh, got it. Nothing bad happened. I'm okay. I'm safe. So now you're starting to train your brain to realize it's not life or death. This stress response, because our brain lives in these two discrete areas, right? Like we're safe, we're comfortable, everything's fine. Or I'm dancing and singing and it's live and I'm going to die is where your brain.
And I'm going to be so embarrassed and so filled with shame. And I think all of those things fall into it.
Right. And our life really takes place here in the gray.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's all about this area. And as startup and as founders and startup entrepreneurs, like this is where we live. It's the death, discomfort, and all of that, and this slight bit of comfort. There's no full in like, oh, I'm safe and everything's good. We don't live that life. No. So we've got to train for that discomfort. So you want to do this dance party with me?
Yeah, ready.
Okay. 10 seconds?
Yep.
Let's go.
Okay, I'm listening to Tonight. Don't Stop Me Now by Queen, just so everybody can dance around with it.
Okay, you're being a much better dancer than I am, and I'm definitely doing the comparison thing. But we did it. We didn't die.
Right.
Yay. We're actually smiling, which is
Did anybody see us dance? Can you say something in the comments? Oh, gosh.
I watch these sometimes, and I'm like,
did we do that?
Your hips don't move like that. That's me going, yeah, they do. Goodbye to that story.
So, yeah, and this happens a lot when we go and pitch our businesses for those of us raising money or pitch our business just to get a new piece of business from a customer. Because we can go in and just like you said, what I remember with my granola business, oh my gosh, that was so hard. That first client, that customer who store that picked up and then, the first money in, but it was so scary.
Yeah, it is. And those are the moments that we're training for, because what is it that's scary?
Okay, hold on. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Marcy.
Well, at least we make them laugh.
Oh, good.
That's great.
So now, we're in the hold on, disrupt, sit in the discomfort.
Yeah. So what you just said is brilliant. It's so scary. It's so scary. But why? It's not life or death, right? It's not something that we should be scared about, fearful of. And so when we start to train, we can start to separate out the actual tigers. Like you could actually die when you walk out in front of a Greyhound bus. You should fear that. That's good. Mm-hmm. Versus what if they reject me? Then they reject you. And you move on and you learn and you build that rejection. And it's a muscle that you work out the same as any other muscle.
Right. And so is it a case of getting more and more rejections, or is it a case of being able to say to ourselves when we're sitting in the discomfort?
Yeah.
I'm really tech savvy, and I had to send out something today that was the first time, believe it or not, that I had to use Doodle to get everybody on the same page about something. And I actually hesitated. I've never hesitated like that before, but the voice in my head was like, gosh, I hope I got this right.
Oh man.
It never stops me. If I got it wrong, oh well.
Yeah.
But
what's the worst thing?
Right, but it can still crop up, Rebecca.
Absolutely. And one of the great reframes is this stress response. The best thing to know about a stress response, at least for me, is that the exact same hormones, the exact same chemicals happen when you're excited about something as when you're stressed about something.
Wow.
So when you're having a stress response, if you can in your mind say, wait, this is not the story that I want to tell. This is not a tiger. how can I be excited about this? What is the best thing that could happen from this? Like, I'm terrified. I'm going on live. I'm going to screw up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say the wrong thing. And I could have a great conversation. We could dance. We could have fun.
Yeah.
It's just the story we're telling.
And as leaders within our organization, how do we help our team understand this? Uh-oh, did I lead right into the next one?
I don't know how you're doing this, but keep it up. This is brilliant. I love it. Yeah, so thank you. Step number 5, creating a common enemy. So I would love to sit here and tell you that our brains are peaceful, loving, harmonic places, but they're not. They create common enemies. They create enemies of people who are of different race, different gender, different the marketers, the salespeople, the whoever it is that's on your team that you have conflict with or you dislike, and those are ancient stories that get told about different tribes, and we can go into that if you want, but I might save that and just say, trust me, your brain is going to tell you this tale about that enemy. But what we can do is we can use that biology with us rather than against us by saying, okay, all right, fine, you want an enemy? Let me give you an enemy, brain. I will give you the enemy. And the enemy is going to be this story or that competitor or whatever that common enemy. Because here's the thing. When we have a common enemy, it unites a team. It unites an in-group better than anything else. It's why, like, if you're a sports fan, it's why rivalry games are so much fun. Like, I'm a huge Boston Red Sox fan because I know immediately I walk into Fenway and I know my people. I know my tribe. They've got the right logos. They're wearing the right colors. I'm hugging them. I'm like buying beers with people before COVID. Okay. Very safe now. But it's because I immediately knew those Yankee hats, those losers over there, who needs them? Right? Who needs them? Sorry if you're a Yankees fan.
All right, Boston fans, are we doing a quick cheer? Wait a minute, let's do this. Yay!
But that same concept, right, can be used. We can use that biology to unite our teams, to say, I get that there's internal squabbles, but what's our bigger common enemy? What's that external factor? Mm-hmm. It can be abstract, right? It can be poor customer service. It can be, Zappos is a great example. Poor customer service. That's their common enemy. And
Rebecca, I'm sorry, folks. I rarely do I ever go political, but I can see how it's used in our current environment.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and it's incredibly, incredibly powerful to create this divisiveness.
Yeah,
but it can be used positively to bring people together.
Yeah, so let's talk about that because you brought up a really good point. We have stories in our head that we tell ourselves about other people before we even really know about them.
Absolutely.
Which is why, it comes back to that self-awareness. If you're able to show more about who you are, right, then others can get more comfortable with you and you can create more of a cohesive, open understanding. But we have these stories that we've been told over the years about that are very racist or very misogynistic.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's why when you look at tech founders, and I gotta throw this in. It's why when you look at tech founders, female tech founders, 3% of the venture capital goes to female tech founders. Yeah. And again, that's as a woman, that's a painful but there's stories that come with that, right? That's a story here that even when we look at females and how we treat one another, there are stories that say, compete. You are my enemy, right? I've got to bring you down because I got to get that mate. What?
Share with people what that's about. That's back
terrible story.
Centuries ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I say that I have a lot of compassion as women have come. I mean, we've only been voting for 100 years.
Yeah.
We've only been able to own assets for about the same amount of time. I mean, women didn't even have their own checking accounts until maybe the 50s.
Right.
And their own credit card. Come on. Okay. So we're a short game at this. Yeah. And the stories that we told each other, go way back. And same
Yeah.
with the guys. I mean, most men know that women are amazing and in their lives they're amazing, but they've learned this vocabulary over the years, right? And it's a story that they've been told. And they don't always do it on purpose. They need to, their stories about women need to be reframed, and women's stories about men need to be reframed.
100%. I could not agree more. And all of that flows from this biology, right? These evolutionary stories that then perpetuate in our culture as these subconscious tales that, again, we're not trying to be malicious about. But when you look at, for example, who's defined leadership for the past 200,000 years? Yeah, when you look at books, there's great leadership books out there. Not a lot of leadership books as defined as leadership books that are written by women or people of color, right? So when you start recognizing the stories that get told, Disney is one of my favorites to pick on, and I'm sorry. I grew up on Disney. I love Disney. I don't hold anything against them. But when you look at the villains, the evil witches, right? They're old. They're old. Because here's the thing about this evolutionary story, and it's so insidious. Women were valued for our ability to reproduce. Men are valued for their status. And so what happens is if you have a woman with power and she's over reproductive age, that should never happen biologically, right? So we make them witches. We make them evil. We tell these stories. And it's fascinating because I don't think it's intentional, but our biology takes us down these trails that we have to be more aware of.
Absolutely. And that's one of my other questions, because so many folks reach my age and they say, oh, I'm done. Time to retire. And I'm never going to retire. But what can hold people back, and the evidence they get consistently, is I'm too old for that. Nobody's going to hire me at this age. Right. I can't do that, even though, of course, we have Nancy Pelosi. We have all these incredible women, Jane Fonda, lots of people.
Yeah. Yep.
And so how can we stop that story in our heads? Because we're just going to prove ourselves right if we keep that up.
Oh, and that's exactly it. I think it's recognizing that it is a story that we're telling. Yeah. I think it's creating a common enemy of that story and saying, wait a second, that's not the story that I believe. That's not the story that I want to tell. And to make it very conscious. The thing that's wild about these biases, about these stories, is that they are so subconscious. So if you'll permit me to do it, I'd love to do like a little experiment. So, and this is really dangerous, Ande. I'm sorry because of your hair. I'm not blonde, and so I like to use the blonde stereotype.
And you can. I'm a blonde by choice, although I have to say it's been months since I got any highlights.
Look, I will do this because I gotta be brave and daring and all that. Do you see?
Nice.
I'm old. I still have value. Yes. So important.
Pretty hair and value.
So the blonde stereotype is fascinating for a number of reasons, but bear with me. Ditzy, yeah. Stereotype, not true. So give me some examples. Not people you work with, not people you know in real life. Celebrity examples of the stereotypical blonde. Who do you have?
Oh, well, of course, I'm going to go with Dolly Parton, who's the first to say, it's fine when people call me a dumb blonde. I'm not blonde and I'm not dumb.
and according to Dolly, she's like, yeah, right, exactly. And this is not it. Okay, so Dolly, who else? Anybody else?
For ditzy blondes?
Yeah.
Okay, so like a Marilyn Monroe would have been one.
Perfect. Yeah. So I've asked at least 100,000 people this question, and I get the same responses every time, right? Marilyn Monroe, Dolly Parton, Reese Witherspoon.
I can't say that about Reese. I think she's so wicked smart.
Wicked smart. Here's what I've never gotten. Matthew McConaughey.
Oh
my
God.
I gotcha. And by the way, I get myself every time too. These are the insidious little backwards underlying.
Okay, who else fell for that? Who was watching?
If it makes you feel any better, every single time I can do that to an audience of 1,000 people, and then I get to say, I don't think you're biased against blondes. think you're biased against women. And by
Yes.
the way, it's gender independent, right? I'm not calling out all you guys. Us women look the same way. And there's stories about men too, right? If I said, tell me about the dumb jocks, I'm not on that list. And it has nothing to do with my snacks.
And of course, we can do the same thing with people of color.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what happens there?
Exactly.
And Southern accents for those of us who live in the Northeast.
Now, y'all, listen.
Come on.
I'll tell you, as a Northerner, originally, I was a New Yorker. I grew up in New York, and I moved south later in life. I guess I was 20 something when I moved to Memphis. And I still struggle. It's funny to listen to myself sometimes. My editor catches me when I'm on videos and I'm with somebody who's Southern. I will adopt that drawl, y'all, and I will talk all Southern and sweet, and it is hilarious to him. We mimic, but I'm like, in real life, I just I have immediate judgment. I'm like, you're not my tribe.
Right. And just, this is, again, goes back to acuity, folks. The product that Rebecca and business Rebecca founded to help us so that we can become more aware of our unconscious bias as well.
Yeah.
What am I judging from my unconscious bias about women, about men, about people of color, about people with certain accents, about tech founders, about baseball teams? I mean, we have all of this stuff.
Yeah, about myself. And again, I want to reemphasize that this doesn't make us bad people. Like, I will tell you, I have so many biases. I'm not proud of them, but I'm aware of them for the most part. There's still things, right, that catch me off guard all the time. And it doesn't make us bad people. It makes us human. And because we're human, we have a responsibility to become more conscious, right? More aware.
And it becomes a daily practice. So I'm glad you brought us an app that can help us do that.
Thank you.
Because while getting feedback from other people, I understand the 360 part of it. But at the same time, to add that to, of course, the darn list: eat well, exercise, be self-aware.
And if we were all that perfect, that's a thing. It's to me, survive. And then if you can go one step above it, if you can become this much more conscious throughout the day, you're doing it. We're all doing it. It's a struggle.
I don't know if anybody who's watching has a story that they tell themselves as a founder, but I've seen it with myself, which is, just not feeling good enough, not feeling, really able to step up to the opportunity, even though at one minute you're feeling great about it, but then that story comes in and goes like that. And also that feeling of, this will never work when the doubt and fear come in. I'm a huge fan of blending fear and doubt into the cake mix, so to speak, so that it takes, gets blended into the deliciousness of your day.
I love that. But I think what we tend to do is we make fear the main ingredient.
Yeah.
And all the sweetness, all the love, all the abundance, all that positive stuff gets overwhelmed. Like a pinch of fear, just a pinch is good. It's good.
Yeah. And, I've heard too, where you can kick them off the bus, some of these stories.
Yep.
Are there any other visuals that we can use, letting them all go away in a balloon?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of meditation. And I'll tell you one of the stories that I had the first time somebody told me I needed to meditate. I was like, I don't do that woo-woo stuff. Okay, bias much, right? I am a researcher, so I was like, I'll check it out. And of course, all of the research supports like how powerful it is to just listen. And one of the things that I learned through meditation is listening to that voice, allowing yourself to hear it and saying, I don't actually need you right now. Could you please go away? And having it float like a cloud. Now, the thing is, a lot of people don't meditate or won't meditate because they feel like they're doing it wrong or they can't do it right. They can't clear.
So they've got a story about that.
Right. They can't clear their head of the voices. They just keep coming back. And my whole thing is, if you're hearing the voices, you're meditating, you're doing it, right? Like you're hearing it. I get to say, hey, thanks. I don't need you right now. You've done it.
Thank you for sharing. I got this.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
And then it's just, breathing in, breathing out. Yeah, some folks might, include meditation as far as listening. They might do it while they're digging in the garden because they're hearing their voices, and that's meditation for them.
Yep.
Morning pages where you're allowing yourself to write and just feeling the words and the thoughts flow out in paper, and you go, "Ooh, that's an interesting story."
That's exactly it. We all are going to meditate in different ways. You don't have to sit,
Yeah.
here. It doesn't work for me. I'm a squirmer. So I meditate a lot when I'm running. Eyes open. It's super important. Yeah.
Sorry to mean to laugh. Let me just say hi to a couple of favorite people here, but this is my co-host at Founders Live Boston. We're going live Thursday, the 28th with this month's group. Thank you, AJ, for the great moves. Love it. Yep, I'll absolutely do a shot of tequila. And Barbara's doing remarkable things as a author of amazing books, and especially for children, but also, ones that have really important stories so that we can reframe how we be in the world. Thanks for swinging by. And of course, Marcy's talking about Go Dodgers.
Oh, Marcy.
Yeah.
I like it. Now you're not even part of my tribe. I don't
the whole sports thing. So when I always love to ask this question, because entrepreneurship, I believe, is the biggest personal development course out there.
Mhm.
Launching, branding, building a business, getting someone to buy a product, creating the product and then selling it. Come on. This is not easy. Oh, I forgot to say hi to one more person before we get started in that whole question. Hi, Elizabeth. Elizabeth has a company called Swan Patisserie. She puts together the most incredible French breads.
Oh,
Oh, so good. Oh my gosh.
do they ship?
Hey, Elizabeth, you know to get back to Rebecca on that one.
Let me know.
They're local for me, but and for someone who had a food business, that's the hardest because there's a shelf life with food.
I didn't even tell you, I had an ice cream business.
You did that too?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love ice cream. Man, ice cream does not help me gain weight.
What? Who doesn't love ice cream though? Have you ever not taken a first bite?
Maybe
Yeah.
One or two people, I think, but most of us, it's good. But entrepreneurship, personal development program. I mean, you get in, you're faced with everything that you could ever want, and you've got to up your game. One of my favorite people, Mandela S.H. Dixon, she's always talking about the more that you do better, your business will do better. And we have to do this, folks. We have to work on our mind. How has entrepreneurship served you and your journey as a person, as a woman?
I think it's more than anything, it's helped me to become who I truly am, to face my fears, right? To actually live them, to practice what I'm preaching about, realizing, hey, I'm not going to die. This isn't a tiger. And it's forced me to be accountable, frankly, to realize that when I fail, that's on me. And that doesn't make me a bad person, right? That's so powerful. It gives me an opportunity to grow, to shift that weight from failure being a personal flaw to what's next? Okay, that's what's next? Oh, it's such great power. So I think the accountability to truly facing those fears, to actually having to engage in. It's easy to talk about this all the time.
I know.
I'm good at running my mouth, but when I actually have to do it, it's right, yeah.
That's good. How can we serve you in your business? The Startup Life community, we're all about opening doors, adding wind to other founders' sails. Share with everybody, and then we'll do a little wrap up.
Yeah, sure. I think my big ask is check out the nonprofit. That's my first thing.
Yep.
Because it is so pertinent and so timely. And I just don't want these people to be forgotten about. So if you have some time, go on to Morning America, Morning with the U, and share your story. If you've lost somebody, please submit their name. Take some time with that. Be on the lookout for my book. My book is coming out. The title is Instinct. It's not coming out for another year. I'm sorry. So 2021, May 2021, Instinct will be available. I'm featuring lots of little plugs throughout my socials. So if you find me on social, I'm at Dr. Rebecca Heiss, Heiss. It's down there. Andy's awesome about this. Bring me in to speak in your organization or download the app. The app is going to be available at the end of June. So I am really excited for you guys to check out iQity. You can get a free trial. And actually, if you'll remind me, Andy, any of your listeners that want to reach out to me, I want to make sure that they get a discount on iQity. So
excellent.
Put in a plug for that. Just reach out to me and let me know that you heard me with Andy, and we'll do that. And then the final thing I'll say is just reach out to me. If there's anything that I can do to help you in your journey, a rising tide raises all ships. And I want to be a person that can be there for all of us in this journey, because look, I'm going to need you too. Pursuit. If you need an ear, I'm blessed and privileged to be here for you. So thank
you for that, Rebecca. Okay, so this is why we're here, founders. We're here to get better at what we do and who we be. Some things are skill sets that you've got to do: cash flow projections, pitch decks, business plans and models, coming up with product development. That's all hands-on tactical things. And then we have to work on our parts and our pieces that are in our brains and, helping each other get through this. And I think this is one of the hardest things founders are challenged by, Rebecca, which is reaching out for help.
Right. It's a huge.
What's the story that's being told so that they can't ask for help?
Oh, and it's just, I'm a failure. I'm not good enough. It's all those challenging stories, right? That says, look, here's what you can do. Put a rejection versus a failure. Which one's more powerful? Do you want to be rejected? Like, if you ask for help, you're going to get rejected, or are you going to fail?
Right.
Sometimes it's that, right? Sometimes it's putting those fears against each other. The stories that we need to tell ourselves is it's not me versus you. There's this infinite ability and this infinite space for us all to gain from one another. So you're not taking away anything by asking for help, and you're not taking anything away from yourself.
And how about competitors? Because they're there. They're in our face. They're giving us good pushback. What's a story how can we shift our stories around competitors?
What a great opportunity to learn. Watch their mistakes. Watch what's being successful for them.
Exactly.
This is such a great, I love a competitor. Then I have this great opportunity. It's the same as, again, I'm going to use a sports analogy. Sorry, I'm a sports girl. I had a rival who, I didn't like her. Man, she made me better because I studied her. I watched her moves. She watched me. We learned from each other. We grew. And we ended up actually teaching together much later in life. And she was a wonderful person. I told her these terrible stories. But these are the things. These are opportunities for us to grow and learn. So yeah, look at your competitor as somebody who can push you to be better.
I love that. Remember, I learned that playing tennis. Always play with somebody better than you. That's what mentors on. Thank you for your lovely comment, Eric Cox. That's so great. And yes, Barbara, authors supporting authors. Yay!
Barbara, let me know about your book and let me know how I can support you in launching. So.
Oh yeah, Barbara's really doing remarkable work with her books. It's so exciting. Okay, so now let me just say right now to the listeners, I am so grateful. Viewers, I am so grateful that you tuned in and carved out time to up your founder game. I know you found some nuggets listening to Rebecca, sharing how you can rein in that beautiful brain of yours and shift the stories, reframe the stories, sit with the stories, recognize, hold on, I got my list, recognize, listen, disrupt, sit, and comment. And comment enemy. 5 things that you can take away from our conversation today. It was so good. If you have any questions for Rebecca or for me, or would like to continue the conversation, please leave a comment, shoot me an email. I put all the links to reach out to Rebecca in the show notes and in the comment threads. Make that happen. You can get better as long as you reach out to folks. And those of you who are watching later on YouTube, please click the subscribe button and click the bell icon so you'll be alerted anytime I post a new video, because I'm here 7 p.m. every Tuesday night with another guest sharing remarkable information for folks. And I'm going to try out something new tonight. And that is, hold on, let's try it. Ta-da! Oh my gosh, will you look at that? I invite everyone to subscribe to my monthly newsletter, Let's Stick Together, because it takes a village to raise a business. And also get the alert at my meetup group, so you're alerted every time I post a new episode, so you can go, okay, this Tuesday night we've got this person on. That way you can tune in live and get your questions answered. So there are the links that you can do that with. If you have a pitch deck that you're sitting with, or you need help even creating one, maybe you need one reviewed, you're getting ready to go pitch it somewhere to investors or a pitch contest. I have raised millions from VCs, thousands from angels, and I co-host a monthly pitch event here in Boston, so I can make sure your pitch deck is ready for your next investor meeting and for your next pitch event. And look, you don't need to go through this time alone. I'm here to hold your hand as a mentor. Let's get you in for a strategy session, a funding session. There's always so many ways we can work together. Just reach out to me at Ande@andelyons.com, and let's move forward and have a conversation. Next Tuesday, June 2nd, oh my gosh, 7 p.m., we've got a local goddess, Debbie Kleiman, Executive Director of Babson College's Center of Entrepreneurship. She's joining us to talk about everything she knows about entrepreneurship, plus her recently published book, First Pitch, which is all about winning, and it's about winning money, mentors, and more for your startup. Rebecca, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me. Folks who tuned in live, you're the best for carving out time. Thank you. And I just want to say, any last thoughts, Rebecca?
Just massive amounts of gratitude to you, to your followers. It truly is what you said. It takes a village. So thank you. Keep changing those stories and stay fearless, Ande.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for joining me for this fierce and fearless conversation. Fearless. This fear is there. We're just trying to have a little bit less of it. And so, viewers, thank you for tuning in. Stay strong, stay focused, stay healthy. And hey, wear a mask, okay? It's a good thing to do right now. Protect your neighbors, as we say here in Boston. And keep the social distancing, physical distancing going on. I'm here for you. I'm excited for you and everything that you're doing. I'll see you next time. Cheers, everyone. Mwah. Yeah.